Good morning. It's a new day and we're going to learn our second stitch today. I found out some stuff overnight and so now I got to tell you more stuff because I told you wrong. Go figure. Alright, one thing is you're supposed to take your piece of fabric out of the ring whenever you're not working on it because it can leave a circle. So whenever you're not working on it, be sure to remove it. So there's that. So let's put our fabric back in our circle, our hoop. And so the yarn I was using, I don't think that's gonna work. It's too, I don't know, thick or something. It's too much freaking trouble. So I have ordered some more. And the way that I found it was I looked up DMC. DMC makes wool embroidery floss, or I think it's called textile floss or something like that. I'll go ahead, you know, I have to use what I have for right now until that stuff comes in, which could take a while. And I don't want to lose track of what I'm doing here and not make my videos. So I'm going to go ahead and use this today and until I get the other stuff in. So again, I'm separating this stuff. What I kind of think I have to do until I get the actual right stuff in, the right thread in, is I'm going to have to take the piece and just double it. Not really double it, not like you. I'm going to have to tie it at the end, and then like I'm using two pieces. So I'm taking this one thread out, because if you remember yesterday, it was breaking. Like it's too loose or something. I don't know. Alright, so I have the one single strand out of my wool yarn, and take my needle, and again, the way you thread it is you wrap it around and then push, wrap it around the needle tight, and then push your needle on top of it to get it through. Alright, so instead of doing a single layer and putting the knot down here, I'm doing it like this, to where I even them up at the bottom, and that way it's a double thread. So I also looked more into how you start and finish, because you don't want to have a big knot in the back like this. Like this. So what you want to do is go a ways away from your line that you're going to, so I'm going to do this line and I'm going to poke it through right here and then start it so you got this long area from where you start. And then whenever we're done with our line, then we take that and we back stitch it a few times and then weave it through the back, not the front. Alright, so today is a back stitch. So my line starts, which hopefully you can see it, starts right there. But I don't want to poke it in right there. I want to poke it in a little ways away from it. So I'm going to poke it in about right here. Alright, so once you get it pulled through, then you go back to the front of the line, like this. And that makes your first stitch. Then you carry it through to the back of the next stitch. So it's going to go, which is why it's called a back stitch. So it's going to go a little ways away from it, away from your line. Pull that through. And then go back to where you just let off on your last stitch. Right there. And see how it's making a line? And it looks a little better than the stitch we did yesterday. Alright, so now I'm going to do the next one. A little ways away. Right. And then push it in at the end of the last line. And these are for straight lines. So let's finish this up real quick. Try to keep your stitches a little bit even as far as how far away you make your stitch, so they're pretty even. So you don't end up with really long ones and really short ones. Try to make them like the same distance. Oh my God. So today is Halloween. I hope everyone's excited about that. I love Halloween myself. I love decorating the front of the house. Shoot! See, this stuff just does not freaking work. So now I have this really crappy string that I have nothing I can do with. So since that didn't work, I'll go ahead and show you how to end. I'll go ahead and show you this. And then I'm gonna have to switch over to regular cotton freaking floss, because this yarn is not gonna work. I'm gonna have to learn how to knit or something so I can use all this freaking yarn that I bought. Alright, so I put the needle on the part that I cut off, this long part that we had way over here. And what you do, if I'm understanding it right, is on the back you go through and make like a knot. Through the yarn, but not real strong, or I guess I can't use the word strong, not real thick. So you go a couple times one way and then you go a couple times the other direction with your thread without unwinding it. So maybe in the next stitch And then once you've done it a couple times both ways, going through your yarn stitches, then you weave it through your stitches like so. So see, it's kind of in the stitches there, and then you pull it through. You can get it to go. And then after you've done that, then you snip off the extra. And let me pull this silly thing out. Okay, so see how it's kind of hidden. And that way, they say that the reason why is because you don't want a bunch of like knots, because what it'll do whenever you put your stuff together is it's gonna leave a ugly bump. Like, you don't want an ugly bump back there. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut off my other knots that are real ugly, and I'm sure it'll just come undone. Alright, so that's it for today with back stitching. You know what? Let me find my be back. Okay. So here's my cotton embroidery thread, which I was not wanting to use, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it until the wool stuff comes in, so I can show you the back stitch. And maybe this one will come out a little bit better. I'm just gonna leave, the thing about cotton embroidery thread is you can separate it as small as you want. It's actually got 6 different strands in here, but for a thicker appearance, you just leave it all thick. I mean, all 6. So I'm gonna leave all 6 so it kind of is as close to looking like wool as possible, because wool is much thicker. Alright, so I put the thread in the same way. Everything is the same as far as how you thread your needle and everything, but instead of doing the 2, I'm gonna just do 1 because this is pretty short. And my cat's over there going crazy with his toys. Alright, so there's the thread, and again I'm gonna start on this side and work towards this line, but you put this far enough away to where we'll be able to do the hidden back whenever it's done, whenever the line's done. Alright, problem with this line is it's so faint. So this is the first I'm going to go up this line. So you put it through, and then you come in below right here, and then you go above, but you want to stay on the line, so I gotta look. Even though this line is really crooked, which is weird because I traced it. So above the line, and then attach to the bottom of, or to the end of the previous line. And as you do each back stitch, you're getting further and further up your line. So this is called a back stitch. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe this fabric is too thick or it's too close knit, because you can kind of hear it popping every time the thread goes through. Hear that? I mean, it might be normal. But this is not, this material is not linen. Because the linen was about $20 a freaking yard. And I was like, are you kidding me? For linen? See how the line is getting longer? And it's pretty straight. I mean, I kind of like this back stitch better than the last stitch, the first one. Even though the first one I think was a beginner one. This one looks a lot straighter and a lot cleaner, I think. Except for the very bottom. Where I started, that's a little crappy. So let me go ahead and finish this line, and you go ahead and finish yours, and then I'll show you how to end it. And remember to try to keep your little dashes as evenly spaced or evenly long, because I can tell where I'm getting a little bit longer, and you know, I think they should look the same along the whole length of your line. Each stitch should be the same length. All right. So I'm on my last one. Well, now I'm on my last one. Give me a sec. All right. So I'm on my last one, and what I'm going to do is go through twice on this one. So here's the first time. And now I'm going to do it again in the same spot. I can get the stuff through. That is really popping a lot. So now that I've gone through twice, now I'm going to go through the stitch once this way, once this way. I guess just do it a couple times. I'm just kind of going through to secure the end. Kind of like making a knot. Shit. Okay, that's pretty ugly. Hang on. This shorter, oh shit. This shorter one went and got stuck in there, and that sucks. Cause see how now it's even, now this is doubled. Oh, I see what it did. Look on the front. All right. Try to get that out because it's got a knot on it. I don't know how that happened. Oh my gosh, it's really knotted. I don't know how I got it so knotted on the front, but try not to do that. All right, I got it figured out. It just got caught. One of the pieces of thread, the one end got caught underneath the other side. Shoot, but I don't know if I can get that pulled through. You know what? I don't think I can get that pulled through because I've already put the knot on the back. So another lesson learned. We'll take this as a learning lesson. Make sure before you start knotting the back that the front looks like it's supposed to look. Because now it's stuck. Now I have this forever loop. I guess I could hang my heart up with this on the nail whenever it's done. It'll just have a loop. That was not supposed to happen. Hopefully yours didn't do that. Always make sure that it went all the way through. So let's pretend like that didn't happen. So you have your knot on the back, and then just take your needle and weave it into your stitches. I'm just kind of weaving it back and forth. And then pull your excess through like that. And it'll make a nice, pretty even stitch on the back. So then you cut that excess off. And supposedly it won't unravel. Then you cut your knot on your front. This is an away stitch. You cut the knot carefully to not cut your fabric. And now you have this long piece of thread. And we're going to do the same thing where we do a kind of a back and forth. I'm going to call it a knot, but you don't want it bulky. So I'm just going to make a second back stitch through. And I hope I don't run out of thread on this. And then you go through it, and this is just through the stitching. Whoops, not through the fabric. And it's really hard to not get it through the fabric. So there's once, and now I'm going to do it again this direction, and I'm just kind of poking it through the thread. And then you go the other direction, again I'm going through the thread without fraying it and without losing your needle off of the end. This is pretty frustrating too. But again, we will learn how to do this and not get so frustrated. Okay, so there's the second time. Now I've gone through this way twice, through this way twice, and then you take your thread and you just weave it into your stitches to kind of hide the straight excess, and pull it through. So it's pulled through, and now I cut off the excess, cut off this part without cutting the actual stitches. Alright, so now the back looks actually better than the front, I think. If it weren't for this, I mean, this would have been a really good stitch. Oops, hold it too hard. Alright, so I'm going to do this side. I'm going to take out all this wool crap that I put in there and do the other side for practice. And tomorrow we'll learn another new stitch. Tomorrow will be the chain stitch. Today was the back stitch, and the one we did yesterday was a line stitch or a dash. Just gonna call it a dash stitch. Oh, one other thing, don't like drink stuff around your embroidery piece, because if you like spill coffee or tea, or you know, don't eat Cheetos while you're doing this, because you'll get little orange stains all over your fabric, and you don't want that, because you do all this work and then if you run it with some kind of food and get a stain on it, that would suck. So try not to eat Cheetos while you are embroidering, and be sure to take the ring off whenever you store it at night. Otherwise you'll end up with like a permanent ring that's hard to iron out. Not that I've ironed this yet, because I have not. Alright, so tomorrow we'll do the chain stitch. Have a good night. Bye. Okay, so I finished the second one to match this one, and see, it came out a lot better. So I wanted to show you that practice makes perfect. So lesson learned, looks good, and the back actually looks really good too, because I did the little back knot and the back knot here, and I just pushed the needle through with the thread into this weaving, into the stitches, and then pulled it through, and then cut off the little tail, the little excess. So it's done for today. Next time, tomorrow, we'll do a chain stitch, and I really want I might need to sew this down or something to get it out of the way, because I don't want to cut it, because if I cut it off, then all of it will come out. So maybe I can make, I don't know, a flower out of it or something later. I don't know. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll make a flower out of it. So I'll probably stitch it down kind of like this, out of the way, because tomorrow we'll be doing this line, and this excess is going to get in the way. So I will just sew it down to the side. So anyway, that's a back stitch, and it's looking better after just 2 lines. So see you tomorrow. Okay, one last thing. I did go ahead and take that loop, that excess that I screwed up on, and I made a little, I guess you could call it a little golf club, an upside down golf club on my heart. Well, what's going to be a heart. And I'm thinking that later on I might come in and add a couple more of these little loops and fill it once I learn some new stitches, and make a flower eventually. But for right now, I just have it tacked down. I took the cotton thread, the cotton floss, and like I had said, this is 6 tiny little strands. They're real skinny. So I took 2 out. I separated out 2, so it would be really, really thin string, and I tried to tack it down. I think it turned out pretty good. The back doesn't look terrible, but I just kind of made a little loop out of it and was like, you know what, I'll just do that, and that way I can make something out of my mistake eventually. All right, now see you tomorrow.